about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist. Am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Spending time all alone, sending my songs through the phone, dreaming of a better home, while focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the Bluez let this last.
I don't know if the earth is painted blue. I don't.
That was the great sounds of Watson with Outside on WNHH-LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, E.C. Bluez is in the building. Easy Bluez, you are better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us today on Behind the Brand?
Ladies and gentlemen, here at Behind the Brand, we are constantly talking about local. We are constantly talking about supporting local. We are constantly talking about going outside, meeting your neighbors, getting invested in what they do and growing with them. This next guest is literally the pinnacle of that. This man has been in the local scene for a good amount of time. We're not gonna age anything here, but this man has also in the time supported a local radio station. He has a show on a local radio station. If you have not paid attention to that show on WPKN, you are ridiculous, and I do not like you anymore. Okay, I'm kidding. It's the holiday season. I still like you. I still like you. Santa, don't leave coal in my stocking. Although I got the pressure. We'll make some diamonds. No, I'm just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to put your hands together, not if you're driving. If you're driving, keep your hands at 10 and 2 because we don't want any accidents. Put your hands together for someone that I met while on stage at the Rock Lottery. And we all know how dear that contest is to my heart. So put your hands together for the absolutely amazing Ed Flynn. Sir, how have you been?
Hey, it's Ed. You having a great Friday?
Oh, always, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. And for the listeners that, are ridiculous and don't even know what your radio station is or your radio show is, or the fact that you are a phenomenal bass player in the amazing Lucy's Neighbor and other great projects on top of that, let's let the people know a little bit about you. Now, you started playing music about, 2 years ago when you were 18?
I started playing music about 4 decades ago when I was 18. I'm 57 years old. I started playing music, taking a serious interest in it when I got to college. When I was in high school, I had a heavy metal cover band that I was the lead vocalist for. We played our Battle of the Bands. We did the high school thing. We played a couple of private parties, when the parents are away and the keg comes out and all that. But when I got to college, I had an interest in guitar and I just gravitated to the guitar players. I remember freshman year, the guy next door was a guitarist. I befriended him. He would loan me his guitar when he was in classes. I'd fool around and I watched the other guitar players. I'd pay attention. And that's what started it. And of course, in college, I had a couple of bands. I played guitar in one, I played bass in another, on campus events. We weren't part of any community. I went to Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York. And, we had a pretty, the students on campus, they liked music. So if you had a band, people would show up, whether it was a Battle of the Bands or a hot dog roast behind the student center. I did a hot dog roast. That was great. And, but that's where it started. And then I graduated in '86 and I started to explore music that I was introduced to in college, but didn't really get into in college. Those are my metal years. I did a heavy metal radio program with the Marist station. And when I came home on summer break and Christmas break, I actually did fill-ins at WNHU in West Haven. Usually the metal shows on the Saturday night, I would sit in for that. And I was usually behind the scenes lurking about anyway. And I still like some of the metal. I'm not like I was back in the 80s. I'm more discerning about it now. But when I graduated, I'm out of metal radio. I'm no longer playing in these campus bands. So it's like, now what? I got really into things that I had heard in college, like the blues. A lot of those guitar players that I knew were really into the blues, and I liked it. So I explored it. I never got into a blues band or anything. I remember dropping down, if you remember, the Foundry Cafe on Audubon Street, which is now Coffee. But that was a restaurant and a jazz club. And on Wednesday nights, there was a blues guitarist who passed away a few years ago, Robert Crotty. And he had the Robert Crotty Blues Band. He put out some albums. He did some opening slots at Toads for people like Johnny Winter or whom have you. So he was like New Haven's, one of the New Haven, blues guys. And on Wednesday nights, they'd have this open jam. So I went down there, and it was pretty funny because I had my guitar that I got in college. So it was this BC Rich Mockingbird. It looks like I should have been in Motley Crue or something. And I come down to this blues jam, and I was like, I thought I was gonna like be the next Johnny Winter. So I'm playing all this lightning fast, but I was kind of one-dimensional. And again, I love the blues. I wouldn't call myself a blues guitar player, but I am very bluesy in my guitar playing. But then let's see. I did that for a bit. I was listening to jazz and blues and just really absorbing a lot of different music and trying to adopt it into my playing and everything. And then I joined my first New Haven-based band probably in 1991, which was called The Field of Vision. It featured Christina Delfino on vocals, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago from cancer. Rick Servo on guitar, Paul Tascione on drums. It was mostly originals. It was the first time I was doing a band that was originals. And I lasted for almost a year with them. And just before they went into the studio to record an album, always parted company. I really wasn't the perfect fit for them. And as a matter of fact, I wasn't even replaced. The other guitar player took care of everything. So, it was kind of like a compliment. Well, you're not the guy, but nobody else is either.
Oh, word, definitely.
Yeah. And that's how I established myself. And then from there, I started to do other things. I started to explore other areas of music. And before I get into that, what I'd like to do is maybe just jump forward to the present and then go back. Because it's almost bookended, because Field of Vision, is best described as a indie alternative rock band, power pop thing. And that's what I'm doing now,
Yes,
and
you
all
are.
this other stuff came in between. So it's like, I wrote some notes as to, what my musical history is. And if you didn't know me, you'd say, is this the same guy? But, yeah, so what happened with Lucy's Neighbor, it's probably my favorite thing I've done, and I'm most proud of it, and it's not even my band. I was the last person to join the band. What happened, let me just give you a brief history as I reach over amongst the CDs, but the band was established in 2012, and it was, for all intents and purposes, a band built in the studio. And the first album, right here, is called Lucy's Neighbor. I look at it as essentially almost a solo project for our drummer, who is the founding member of the band and the main songwriter, Tom Quagliano. So Tom had a bunch of songs, and there was a couple of covers he wanted to do, Psychedelic Furs. There's two Psych Furs covers on here, but the rest was originals. So Tom plays drums. He's a fabulous drummer, and he knows enough guitar and bass to write music and demo them. And the guitar player on here is Dave Esposito, who would take those songs and flesh them out and build upon them. So on this album, it's Tom on drums. He wrote all the lyrics and all the music. Dave plays guitar, and Tom plays guitar and bass on it as well. And then the other, there's some bass tracks played by Anthony Apuzzo and John Robley. And that's a fine album, the first one. So they made the album, they released it, and they played a gig. And that was the end of that, as far as I know. And Tom had a lot more music in the can. And at that point, Tom and Dave had kind of reestablished a musical relationship. I've known them since the mid 80s. They go back even further. I mean, between the two of them, they have boxes of cassettes of things they've done together over the years. They had a great band in the late 80s called Unfinished Symphony. They played the Brick and Wood. They played the Grotto. It was good, really good original, indie rock. And I was around, I was, their friend, and I would, go to rehearsals, go to the gigs. I was just kind of part of, their little thing there, And we actually had done a few things together, but nothing that ever left the basement. It was just, this is cool, but, it just wasn't meant to be. And then a long period of time went by when no one really saw each other because each of us got married around the same time, which that didn't change anything, but we all became fathers. And when kids are in the picture, your schedule changes. And so nobody had time to start bands and, that was just the way life rolled. I kept going and doing other things because I was doing things that didn't require all that kind of preparation and work. And we'll get to that. But with Lucy's Neighbor, I ended up joining them for the second album called Over Easy. What happened was, I guess they were talking about doing the album. Dave was on board full time. In fact, Dave even wrote, some music for this album. My name came up a couple of times. Oh, maybe we'll have Ed come down, play on, one or two tracks or whatever. I ran into Tommy in a grocery store. I said, all right, send me the music. Let's hear it. Because, I want to make sure, I feel it, get the vibe, I'm like, all right, yeah, this is cool. Plus, I always wanted to do original music, as far as like songwriting. I've done original music in terms of improvisation, which is spontaneous, real-time composition, but that's not songwriting. That's different. So I went down to record the one or two tracks, and I ended up recording the entire album. So, of course. And by the way, I left out the vocalist, Derek DeFranzo. He's younger than us. He was someone that was introduced to Tom through a third party, and he's absolutely perfect. He's a great vocalist, a great fit with the three of us. So we get along well together. We play well together. It helps when you know the people and like them to begin with. So the second album, Over Easy, came out. And then, or before it even came out, they're thinking, well, why don't we make this the band? And let's go out and play more than one show. Let's see what we could do. So they gave me the job of bookings and promotions. And so I booked and I promoted. And we got some gigs and some fun gigs. And, we got some radio airplay on the PLR local band show, Connecticut Rocks with Bobby D, Homegrown Radio with Robbie DeRosa. And there was a couple other college stations, even a station up in Massachusetts somehow found us and gave us some airplay. Somebody, just through a conversation online, someone had a radio show out in Michigan, gave us some airplay. So that was really cool. So things started happening. And then we decided, okay, Tommy still had more songs. Let's do a third album. And the third album actually came out last year, October 2020. And this one's called Till It's Gone. And Till It's Gone is all originals. The prior two albums did have some covers, just one or two covers. We did a Monkees cover for You Just May Be the One. I mean, that's relevant. We just lost Michael Nesmith. Torque died 2 years ago. We have a lot of fun with that cover. We also did David Bowie's Heroes. That's on the prior album. We just, after he passed away, we said, you know what, let's do Heroes. And it came out really good. So Till It's Gone is the third one. And on this one, I think it's our best. I love all three albums, but this one I think is our best. Derek contributed lyrics to two songs on this. Let's see. I should know this right off the top of my head. Oh my God.
Well, while you sit there, I actually wanted to bring up this incredible point, actually. I've seen you guys live, and Derek is a phenomenal front person. And until you told me that he did not write the lyrics for the other material, I would have never known, because he delivers it so with so much integrity, and he can feel every single word, and that's so difficult to do.
He interprets the lyrics. Tom writes lyrics that they're not love songs, but they're about relationships and personal situations. It's not like, "Ooh, baby, I love you." It's kind of like, "Oh, wow, what the heck happened?" No, but they're philosophical questions. It could be not like necessarily romantic relationships, but family relationships. As a matter of fact, one of the songs that Derek wrote was called "Momentary Bliss," and it was all about the happiness and joy and the relationship between him and his mother and his wife and his daughters, and just very, very, very poetic. And then he also wrote another song called "Kansan Girl," which is the subject. It's based on the Wizard of Oz,
right?
Not necessarily in terms of the characters, but it's this girl in Kansas, and she's living in a black and white world. Something happens, and then things become colorful. So it's metaphorical. I mean, it's definitely based on the Wizard of Oz, but it's not, based on the script or anything, but it's the idea. And so he's really
kind of like the Wizard of Oz meets Pleasantville.
Exactly. Yeah. And now on the new album that we're working on now, as a matter of fact, I have to record a bass line for one of his songs where he wrote not only the lyrics, but the music. So he's coming into his own, really integrating into the band, and because we love what he does. And Dave Esposito, the guitarist, I mean, he does a lot more writing now. Tommy will go with him, with an idea. And Dave has a home studio, and he'll listen, and he'll, add guitar parts. And Tom and Dave also do the production on the albums.
Preston the tag on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made EZ Bluez is in the building. Behind the brand, we got Ed Flynn with us. Ed, I'm sorry if I lose your train of thought. I apologize. Go right ahead, sir.
No, you won't lose my train of thought. I've already had 4 pots of coffee, so I'm ready to go.
So we're good to go.
Do that too. But the new album is going to feature some more songs from Derek. And I don't write. I'm really not a songwriter. I listen to the demos, and I'll listen to hear what kind of bass line is appropriate. And then that's subject to tweaking. We go into the studio. If I have a demo without lyrics, sometimes it's hard. I had to re-record a piece because I played a part that was musically good, but it would have clashed with the lyrics. So sometimes you gotta take time and just, So I'm that type of bass player where, I'm a team player. They wrote the songs. I play for the song, whatever's required. You want me to slow down a little bit? You want me to play less? It's cool. It's for the song. This is all about songwriting. We're all good musicians, but we don't feel a need to have to show off all these chops or whatever. It's about songs. We can jam. I mean, sometimes at a rehearsal, Dave and I will, slip in like a riff or something, and for maybe a minute, we'll either play anything from like Led Zeppelin to Pat Metheny, and then Tom like, But we could do that stuff, but it's about the songwriting and about just presenting the songs the best way possible, and it's fun to play them live, and it took a while to do this third album though. Right. Because we spent more time in the studio. I, in fact, re-recorded almost all of my bass parts because I had bought a new bass. It just sounded way better. I said, guys, we got to redo it. And then COVID hit. We didn't know what was going on. Nobody did. Everything got shut down. So we figured, let's shut down too. Because, we were, 4 guys in a small studio. We didn't know. Once we got vaccinated and everything, then we got back into the studio, and then it came out, and we played shows again. And last summer was great. We played 10 Selden for Bobby D's birthday bash. So he always throws together a fabulous lineup. That was a lot of fun. We played our very first acoustic gig.
Nice.
District Arts Education. they were doing live broadcast, live stream shows, which was fabulous, during COVID. They're actually still doing it, even though venues are opening up again. And that was the perfect setting to do an acoustic set. And it's nice to know that these songs are so good that we can play them acoustically and electric, so it's not like, we rely on studio trickery. We don't really do anything in the studio we can't do live, and the acoustic set proved that. And then the last gig for the year, because of work schedules and whatnot, Tommy is the head sound man at the Schubert Theater, so his work schedule is like a scholastic schedule. You have summers off. But we did the first night of the Connecticut Rocks Fest. That was at Cafe 9 back in October, and that was a lot of fun. I've played, different multiple bills in the past with different bands, but this one was just rock solid. Every band that night, we just had a blast. It was fun. So that's how we finished up the year, with that gig. And now when we have the time, we do the recording of the new album, which will be the 4th album. We don't know what we're going to call it yet. We've only just started getting a few tracks down, and we're going to hope for a summer release for 22. Right. We'll see what happens. Well, but, that's what's going on with Lucy's Neighbor.
Now, before you touched on some incredible things, but there's some stuff that for the musician at home. There's some things that you kind of talked about, but I want to sit on for a couple minutes.
Sure.
One of the main things is, when you're practicing and you're rehearsing these songs, you start to have that play. And for anyone who's ever seen a Broadway production, if you've ever seen, say, The Producers with Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick, they will throw things at each other live because they're so well rehearsed. They're so well practiced. They'll throw things at each other live just to try to get them off the game. And I'm starting to see that a lot with live musicians, especially after this year of COVID, where all you had to do was practice and really get to know each other as musicians, where, the guitar player will throw a riff in there and the bass player will tease the riff, but then they go back to their original song. Or, we do it with Shane Penguin as like, I'll try to crack some weird jokes at some point, or, change a word in a song at some point to have, if I can make, Kenny or Tristan smile, then I don't even care what the audience is saying. I was able to do that, and we didn't miss a beat. That becomes the game. You spoke about that, but I really want to sit on that for a little bit, because to me, that is the pinnacle of live music.
Yeah, I think I made a reference to, spontaneous composition. That really belonged to the realm and a particular era in my history where I was strictly doing improvisation. With a group like Lucy's Neighbor, we don't allow for room for improvisation. We don't change the songs live. What I feel that happens on stage, we really enjoy playing together. And, there's a lot of eye contact, and, sometimes you kind of like smile and maybe make each other try to laugh or something. But I think the music really breathes, Right. The studio recordings are excellent. They're tight recordings. So, live, again, we're tight. We're very tight.
Yes, you are.
But nothing really changes from the album to live. But I think it just there's energy. We're very energetic, and here we go. I mentioned 3 gigs this year, and none of them came across like I say the same way, because the difference between the 10 Selden gig and the Cafe 9 gig, the 10 Selden gig was, I'm trying to find I don't want to say it was more energetic, but it was a different energy for whatever the reason. It could be maybe whatever we were thinking about going in. Maybe it's the room itself. Maybe it was the volume, maybe it was the stage sound. And then we did the acoustic show. Well, actually, we did the acoustic show first. So we talked about a contrast. And then the Cafe 9 show, we definitely did indeed rock, but it was a different kind of energy. It's hard. I don't know. I don't know if the 10 Selden gig was more punkish and just I don't know, there was something about it, but it's organic, because we're, it's not like we're just going to play oh, just play the correct notes over the correct chords. It's like, yeah, well, we do that, but you got to let it breathe. And it's right. It may be hard for me to put that into words. And I think that really comes out of just experience of doing it, being up there a few times. And when you're comfortable with your bandmates, you know, although that being said, you know, there's one song we have called the Country Song. And when we played it at DAE for the webcast, I remember the outro of the song, Dave was playing some really cool licks that he didn't play before. And what it brought was just a different feel or lilt. So yeah, so that is there. But you know, we don't deviate much from the song, really. Just give it a different vibe, a different spirit, you know.
And that's huge, because for those who don't go on stage and for those who don't perform, we've got a whole bunch of listeners going, what are they talking about right now? I have no idea. When you go on stage, the energy of a room is extremely, extremely important.
Yeah.
And you know, if for those who really wanted to tune in, I know you've all seen the Blues Brothers. I know you all enjoyed the Blues Brothers. When they walk into, you know, the country bar, you know, and the record skips, you know, that is a very real moment. And it's a real moment that a lot of musicians, you know, face. I've sat in that moment walking into a biker bar in, you know, a 50s, 60s, and 70s tribute band and going, we're going to die tonight. It is what it is. Like, we've lived a good life. I'm okay with it. I've done some things. But to, you know, and then looking at the front man and being like, hey, can we do Roadhouse Blues? And he's like, no, we're going to do My Girl. And you sing Respect. I'm like, okay, well, it's been a fun run. I've loved my life till now. And what a way to go. You know, do you find that those different energies, as you've spoken about, as they continue to texture the music, do you pull from that and be like, hey, maybe we should add that outro from now on, or maybe we should evolve?
It's never planned out like that. I would say that, I mean, at least with Lucy's Neighbor, the type of venues we play are kind of similar, have a similar vibe to them. And I think we just feed off the room as far as just, I don't know, it's almost like you're a receiver and then you transmit, you know. It sounds all very, very spooky and spiritual, you know, but you can't really describe it in words. We've never, even when I was doing punk rock years ago, I've never faced like a hostile situation. It was always like the gig was always appropriate for the venue and the audience was there because that's what they were into. I never walked into a Bob's Country Bunker situation, you know? But if we do, Lucy's Neighbor does have the country song. So
there you go. So you're covered.
You just play that one all night, you know? That's
I find it so interesting because, you know, I've always been in that avenue of, you know, I guess coming from Long Island, any gig is a gig is a gig is a gig. And they come so few and far between, especially as an acoustic artist. I started out my career as an acoustic artist and I wasn't good. You know, so I had to take whatever gigs I could possibly take. And from that, I got put into some really, really interesting experiences. And that'll be the book coming out in 2023. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. You know, Easy Does It. That's going to be the name of the book.
Even when I did cover bands from time to time, it was always venue appropriate. Because when I do a cover band, you're not going to hear Journey. You're not going to hear Bon Jovi. You're not going to hear Lynyrd Skynyrd. You know, you're going to hear, well, we'll talk about that in a little bit while. But before I talk about that, one more thing as far as what's going on now. I just joined another band. Lucy's Neighbor is the band that I'm going to be playing bass in until we run out of songs. But I haven't played guitar on stage since 2016, and I just got invited to join a brand new punk band that is being formed by Scott Fitch. Okay, Scott Fitch wrote the songs. He's the lead vocalist and guitarist. The bassist is Matt DeSanti. You know Matt from Lost Weekend, and he has a couple other, Matt, okay. And the drummer is Todd Ellison.
Wow.
I just met Todd the first time Wednesday night, and I've known Matt and Scott for a while. Actually, I've known Scott since the 90s. We were both in bands back then that shared bills together, so I've known him since then. I will play with them. My first rehearsal will be next week. I just went to check them out this past Wednesday night. I went to their rehearsal space. Even though I heard the music, in demo form, and I liked it, and I was very, very interested, I just wanted to take that final step of just checking them out and making sure that I had the right feel, that I could contribute what they want to them. I don't want to waste their time or put anyone in the position of having to say, oh, well, this isn't going to work out. We got things to do. We don't have time to waste. Let's be sure, if you're going to make a commitment to something, don't put yourself in a position to say, oh, well, no, I don't want to do this. So I went down there, I checked it out, I'm bopping around on the couch. I'm like, yeah, I can get into this, definitely. Like I say, the songs are great. The playing is great. They're great guys. So this will be a chance for me to play guitar again on stage, which is going to be fun. As you can see, I got a couple nice guitars that I picked up this year that are dying to make it to a stage,
Well, see, I love this because anything Scott does, I absolutely love, because you cannot be a part of the Rock Lottery and not have a complete and total love and admiration for everything that is Scott Fitch. But on top of the whole thing, Todd Ellison, if I remember, he's also the drummer for Murder Inc.
Yes.
And his band was at the first Shane Penguin show of all time, in a basement for Growlix. And so I love the fact that all of these people that are part of my life have now come together to be part of each other's lives musically. And you guys are now my new favorite band. You haven't released anything, but that's just it.
I don't even know what we're called yet.
That's fine. I don't care.
I haven't played note one with these guys yet, but I'm looking very forward to it, But it'll be fun because, with Lucy's Neighbor, I love that band. And if we were able to play more often, I would love it. But this is a chance to, go out and play live, which to me, I really love to do. And again, it's a chance to play guitar. You see, Lucy's Neighbor, before I get into this other stuff, it does everything I want a band to do. And I think that's what this new band is going to be like. In other words, write, record, and release original music and go out and play it live. Now, I've done all of these things with different groups, but not all at the same time.
Right.
The only other time I've appeared on any music released was actually a cover. It wasn't original music. So, and then there's things I've done live, but, there was no recordings or whatever. So, so with Lucy's Neighbor, and then with this band, it's like fully realized, fleshed out. It's just like, hey, if you write a book, you want people to read it. If you paint a picture, I would think that you want to put it in a gallery and let people see it. I always thought that, these were the final, realizations of an artist's work, to get it out there in front of an audience. I always thought that was like the final step. I don't know. As a music fan, I get a big thrill out of going and seeing someone else play. So I think, it'd be great if, we got that kind of feedback. It's nice when someone comes up to you and says, oh, wow, great set. That's exactly what I would say to somebody else, so it's satisfying, Ultimately, we all do this because we have a need to do it, and it is self-satisfactory. Of course it is. But if other people enjoy it, that's just the icing on the cake. It's like, great, thank you. That's good, because we know what that enjoyment is. We buy albums, we buy concert tickets, So, it's good. So, yeah, Lucy's Neighbor, the thing with Scott and Matt and Todd. So that's what's happening now. On SoundCloud, I uploaded a couple of bass solo albums earlier in the year, and that's just me on bass and a very, very basic drum machine. And these would be more improvisations, but with attention paid to like a sort of a compositional sense, and musically it's sort of, you can see where I draw on funk and dub. And it's strictly, like I say, just bass and some drum patterns. I actually have 3 more albums in the can that I'm going to upload next year. What happened was Christmas Eve of 2020, after a really nice meal, I went downstairs and I said, well, I'm going to play some bass. And I set up my very basic Tascam tape recorder to capture some ideas. And for like a 2-week period, I was just cranking this stuff out. That's not to say that everything was good. About half of what I recorded just got deleted. I mean, you know, but I saved the best ideas, and I'm like, well, this is cool. So, you know, and I'll put it up on SoundCloud. This wasn't going to be anything I was going to press onto CD. I mean, no one. That's, you know, and you know, it's not something I'm necessarily ever going to do live. You know, maybe some point I would do something with a live drummer, maybe, but it's just, you know, another way to document another aspect of my bass playing. And it's on SoundCloud under Ed Flynn Music, if anybody wants to hear it. It's good groove music, you know. Could be background music, could be foreground music. It's, you know, but yeah, so that's what brings us up to date, you know, now.
That's awesome.
On WNHH LP 105 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ Bluez is in the building. Ed Flynn is with us on Behind the Brand. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. This is an absolute thrill. I mean,
no, this is awesome. I don't know if you actually know this, but I'm actually one of your biggest fans. Mainly because of just how much love and admiration you shared with me in one of, you know, my, I guess, coming out aspects in the New Haven scene of doing the Rock Lottery.
I didn't realize that was your debut. I thought, and when you said that to me the other day, I was shocked. I thought that you had prior experience. You're obviously a natural. And that's what's great, though, about Rock Lottery. It's a game and it's a challenge. And if that was your introduction to being involved in music, man, that was a heck of a thing you pulled off.
Hold on. It was my introduction of being involved in music in New Haven.
Oh, okay.
I come from I've been performing since I was 16. Whether doing like
that's why you
productions. Were good. Yeah, no. But it was literally my introduction to the scene out here, other than just like playing a couple of the open mics acoustically. Okay. It was when I was really trying to focus on putting a band together, and really it was my first time fronting a band. I'd always been either like the side guy, like the guy holding the mirror, or you know, I was, you know, doing it acoustically by myself. So that was kind of where the debut came from, of actually fronting it and dealing that aspect. But yeah, go ahead.
But look what happened. All right, you participated and you met a community of people that are extremely passionate about music. I mean, first of all, to sign up for Rock Lottery, you have to be enthusiastic. And most of those people in Rock Lottery have bands of their own. And, you know, and it's a fabulous event. Now, would you believe I've never actually performed in Rock Lottery? I was a judge. I was a judge for 2 years. I never actually performed, and I almost did. The first year that I became a judge, I opted to do that. I got selected for a band, and when I saw the assignment, I knew that I could not pull it off in the time given. And I got cold feet. I said, I can't do it because I consider myself a good musician, not a great musician. And that means I can't pull off just anything. You know, if you gave me a book of standards, I can't read sheet music. I wouldn't know what to do. I couldn't play in a wedding band or a top 40 band or a jazz band or anything that has charts. And I have to spend time, you know, working on things. And I'd take my hat. If I had a hat, I'd take it off to anyone that enters. You can take yours off, to enters Rock Lottery. That's a heck of an assignment. So anyway, I remember I felt really bad, like, guys, I can't do this. I'm going to be in the way. So I told Nancy and Bill, and they said, well, you know what? Why don't you be a judge? Okay, I'll be a judge. I ended up on stage anyway. What happened was, it was 2017, I think was the year. And I was a judge along with Keith Yarborough, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. Oh, man. But it was myself, Keith, Shelley Voluskis, Stina Del Santo. Yeah, that was it. Now, what happened was, one of the bands that was competing dropped out. So I had the idea, hey, we're all musicians. Why don't we open up the show? We'll play a couple of songs as the judges. Right. And so that's what we did. Stina got injured. She had a kitchen job at the time, and she injured one of these. That's not good for a musician when you're playing guitar. And we didn't have a drummer, so I said, oh, I'll do it. I just took the Maureen Tucker approach from Velvet Underground, the bass drum, snare, and the cymbal. And we played a couple of songs. We did September Girls from Big Star. And then we did the Ramones Rock and Roll High School, which I ended up singing and playing drums. And it was fun. It was fun. We did that. But that was the only time I ever played Rock Lottery, but we weren't, competitors or anything. But
well, I mean, unfortunately, that was the only time we played Rock Lottery. We're starting to wind down because it's been so much fun. I can't believe we've blown through all of our time allotted. But right now we have about 2 minutes left, and I want to give you the opportunity to tell the audience how they can get in touch with you, how they can invest in you and your music, whether it be Lucy's Neighbor or the new project, which I'm going to call This Fitch, but do it in the Silk Sonic type of way, like this Fitch. But go ahead, tell people how they get in touch with you, and then we're going to be playing a Lucy's Neighbor song. So Excellent. Please tell us.
The best way to get in touch with me is the internet. Facebook, of course. There's a page for Lucy's Neighbor. There's a page known as Ed Flynn Music. There's also my Ed Flynn WPKN page. So you could contact me or just keep up with what I do with there. And also Twitter. I'm on Twitter under Ed Flynn. I don't really use it that much because I forget. I forget I have it. So, I mean, I like Facebook because it's so much easier to do a multimedia kind of presentation. I just like working on that better. And, but again, Facebook Bandcamp, Lucy's Neighbor on Bandcamp. Very, very important. We also have a YouTube channel where you can hear, audio tracks. We have live clips, including the very first video we did. Our drummer, Tommy, put it together. It's awesome. It's for a song called The Same New York I Used to Know. And it's actually, we got a lot of airplay with that song on the local band show and everything else. And there's a video for that. So yes, Lucy's Neighbor on YouTube, Lucy's Neighbor on Bandcamp. And Facebook, Lucy's Neighbor, Ed Flynn Music.
That's awesome. And it's been an honor and a privilege. Ed, I respect the heck out of you. And thank you so much for
Likewise.
honoring
us. Shared admiration.
Aw. And I can't wait to play shows with both Lucy's Neighbor and This Fitch. But right now, let the audience enjoy your wonderful track. Do you want to throw to your track real quick? And then Prestige will send us out.
Awesome. Thank you. This one's called... which one did I send you?
I don't remember.
No. I don't remember.
Awesome.
It's a rocker.
So, go ahead.
We do rockers and ballads, but I wanted to end with a rocker.
Awesome.
There you go.
Awesome. Ed Flynn, everybody on Behind the Brand. This is I Don't Want to Know by Lucy's Neighbor.
Thanks, guys.
LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. And happy holidays.
Thank you.